Hello, coming to you from the 12th deck of the Norwegian Cruise Line Getaway. This is my review so far of the trip that left Manhattan on April 17th, and tomorrow it will dock back in Manhattan, which is April 24th. As you can see, it's a beautiful day. Of course, this is the last day at sea. We'll be in Manhattan tomorrow morning, and I will say that weather-wise, this is probably the best day. So they always say, the best day of weather is always the day that you're leaving or your last day of vacation. First things first, while it's been 6 days since we boarded the ship, a lot of things in the past, and we've forgotten about a lot of things, and we've had a great time so far with a few things. There is quite a list of complaints. The first one, and I've been on several cruises now, this is probably my 6th or 7th cruise. There was about a 7-hour wait to get on the ship on Sunday. We got to the dock probably around 2 p.m. and got in line, and you had to go to 2 different cruise terminals. The first one was to check all your COVID paperwork, to make sure that your testing was done, and then obviously that you tested negative. They check everybody. Your Bermuda authorization forms that need to be done, $40 a person to do that. So there was that. Then they shuffle you over to another terminal next to the ship, to make sure your cruise documents are in order, and they check your passports and the birth certificates for your kids and stuff. Then you get on the ship. But that entire process took 7 hours. There was old people, or I should say elderly people, that were waiting in line, that were having trouble. There were people with small children that were having trouble. There were people with special needs children that were having trouble. It didn't seem like any special concessions were being made to handle people that had issues. I had my 12-year-old twins with us. Now, they were complaining a lot, but they hung tough, and we got through it. But there was a lot of people that had a little bit tougher than we did. Now, had we gotten there a little bit earlier, we probably would have gotten in the ship in a little bit shorter order. I heard that people that got in around 10 got on the boat, about 1. So they didn't have to basically waste their entire day. We did. We didn't get on board the ship until, I want to say sometime between 8 and 9. So we missed sit-down dinner. We ended up having dinner in the buffet, which, was fine. It was okay. Kind of allowed us to get a little bit acclimated to the ship. One of the reasons we booked this cruise is because we were told, when I called Norwegian directly, I didn't book it through a travel agent, I booked it directly through Norwegian, was that the cruise was only going to be booked and capped at 60% capacity. I think it was fairly obvious from the amount of waiting that we did, and obviously being on this cruise for the last 6 days, that there's no way that the ship is at 60% capacity. It's at full capacity. Every single stateroom down my hallway is booked. There's people in it. The common areas on a day like today when we're at sea are chock full of people. So it's not at 60%. They lied to us. The other one is when you go on a cruise and you have children, there's a kids club. So there's these blocks of time where you can drop your kid off at the kids club, and the ship entertains them for you, so that us as adults can maybe go off and do an adult thing or two that we want to do. Maybe we want to go to a quiet spot and get a chaise lounge and enjoy a drink and stare out at the ocean for a few hours. Maybe we want to come back to the room and read a book. Maybe we want to do other adult things when we come back to the room. Not 2 or 3 days after we booked, we were sent a letter saying that, unfortunately, due to staffing issues, that the kids club was going to be closed. Now, why didn't they tell us that when we were booking it? I'm sure they probably already knew. They waited until we booked. A couple of, deciding factors to take a cruise were basically lies. And, it puts a bad taste in your mouth before you get on the cruise to find out that the kids club is closed. Then to wait 7 hours to get on the ship. And then when you do get on the ship, you find out, wait a minute, we're not at 60%, we're at 100%. So right out of the gate, bad taste in the mouth. Doesn't bode well, or I should say it doesn't put Norwegian Cruise Line, in a good light, Wi-Fi. Forget about Wi-Fi on the cruise. You might as well just unplug. Part of our package included like 150 minutes free. The first day, my daughter wanted more internet, so I bought one of the tiers. I forget, but it was exorbitantly priced. It was well over $200 so that you could have 2 devices connected to the internet. When we tried it, it only really allowed for 1 to connect. And then when you did connect, very, very, very slow. I work in the IT field. I did a speed test, and I will say that the speeds that we were achieving were no better than maybe double what you used to get back in the 90s with a 56K modem. It's really that bad. And I've got the test results to prove it. Could it have been the tier that I bought? Maybe. I know they have a social media tier, and I forget, there's one other higher end tier that you can buy. But it's unbelievable the amount of time it takes to download an email or send a text. It just wasn't worth it to me. And I pay $100 at home for the best possible internet, the top tier speed, and to ask somebody to pay double, triple, almost quadruple that for 7 days at sea, I think that's exorbitant. And not only that, if you have multiple devices, it costs more. So we ended up getting 2 staterooms. So we had 150 minutes free for each stateroom, but you burn through that very, very quickly because you're constantly waiting for things to download. So keep that in mind. I know there's some sort of cellular at sea package you can buy, maybe through your provider, if you have AT&T or something like that, might be something to look into. I've got my list here of things that I'm talking about. A lot of the amenities on board the ship have also been closed. So the first day or 2 we were at sea, this ship has a few things going for it. It's got a couple of water slides that, up in the pool area. And I keep pointing in that direction because that's aft. There's a ropes course that's pretty cool. But every time the program said they were to be open, they had little asterisks next to them in the program saying weather permitting. Well, I don't know, there was a couple days where it was sort of windy, but not that bad. Every time we went up there, when they were supposed to be open, they were closed. And the sign said, due to inclement weather. So that was a little bit of a bummer, when you want to use things on the ship while you're at sea to entertain your children because the kids club is closed. It makes it tough. Now, the only thing I had going for me is my kids were 12, so they were at the top end of the kids club for younger children. My kids were actually turning 13. Actually, it's their birthday today. So the fact that they were turning 13 on the cruise made them eligible to be part of the Entourage Kids Club, which is the 13 to 17-year-olds. Now, having kids that just turned 13 hanging around, your kids are 13 through 17, that's quite an age range. Quite a difference in maturity, I would say. So you kind of take the good with the bad there a little bit, but my kids are a little bit mature for their age, so they kind of handled it okay. So at least they had that option, thank goodness. But there's other families that didn't have that option. If your kids were 11 or 12 and it wasn't their birthday, they didn't have a kids club to go to. Now, I did notice that they did open the kids club. When I say open it, not staffed. You could go in with your kid, and you have to be accompanied with a parent. And they had some activities during certain times of the day to keep your kids occupied. In fact, my daughter and my wife are currently at the kids club right now taking one of those painting courses. So that's kind of nice that they have that option. Let me look at my list here, see what else. Since the kids club is closed, if you go up to the pool area, normally they have a kids pool and they have an adults pool. They've waived all that because the kids club is closed. So they're basically allowing the kids to have free reins of the pool area. Now that's good for me because I have 2 young kids, so they can go use the adults pool. Bummer is if you want to go use like a hot tub or something, they've just been completely infiltrated by the kids. And the kids are supposed to have their parents with them if they're going in the hot tub. But, I went in the hot tub a couple times, loaded with kids, and I'm talking about little kids and, maybe some kids, 9, 10, 11 years old. not apparent to be found anywhere. So that's kind of a bummer. If you go early in the morning, you might be able to get a chance to, sit in the hot tub and relax for a little while. Late at night, forget it. We're loaded with kids. So there's that to consider. I would say if the kids club is normally open, then you might find it the rules are more adhered to. Let's just say. Let's see, what else do I have here? So, the staffing situation. First off, the staff is unbelievable. They're super friendly, very, very nice, and incredibly apologetic for anything that goes wrong or any issues. I have a feeling, it's obvious, I could be way off or wrong, but I feel like the staff that's on board the ship was prepared for the ship to be at 60% capacity, not at 100% capacity. So I think, Norwegian Cruise Line kind of dropped the ball on that one. And it almost makes you feel like they're being a little bit greedy by booking the ship at 100%, but not having enough staff to properly service a full capacity load on their ship. 60%? Yes. 100%? No. So why did they do that? Is it because it's Easter week, spring break? Was it an opportunity for them to make up some revenue? I don't know. But, I think it caused a lot of problems, starting with that super long wait at the dock. That put a bad taste in everyone's mouth. The line to guest services the following morning was so long for people complaining and, looking for some sort of reparations. And my wife waited in the line because she wanted to ask a few other questions, especially around the kids club. Could my kids go to the teen club? And, she asked about any kind of reparations, and they said that they're working on it, that they're going to offer something to the passengers, but that never happened. So I think there's going to be a lot of complaints, and I'll probably be writing my naughty list letter to Norwegian because they need to know about it. And if they offer me credit on a future cruise, it's probably going to be something I'm not really going to accept, because at this point I don't really want to go on a Norwegian cruise. Now, having said that, I'm still having a good time. You sort of make your own fun. You make your own time of what you want, what you want it to be. If you want to mope and be like, oh, I waited 7 hours to get online, okay, fine, you can do that. But you're still out on a cruise ship. You're still having a wonderful time. Look at this weather. It's fantastic, So, as I was saying, the staff is incredibly friendly. But, there's been a few issues at dinner, you order a few things, maybe they don't come. Maybe it takes a little longer than you're used to. I will say this: when you book your cruise, make reservations as far in advance as you can, because if you expect to get on the cruise and try to make reservations, especially on a full capacity cruise like this, you're going to be disappointed. And that also goes for any shore excursions. Get them booked, get them done. Now, the other thing you can do, it's just a side tip here, taking a little bit of a side road on something here, is, like, for example, the dolphin encounter. My daughter wanted to do the dolphin encounter. They only had one particular time available to do it, which was like 10:30 in the morning. I went to the website for the dolphin encounter directly. And actually, when we got to Bermuda, I called them and I said, hey, what do you have available? So they had different times available during the day. They told me that they only give the cruise ships a certain slot. And the other thing too is it was $50 cheaper if you went directly with the outfit that does the dolphin encounter. So there's other things you can do. You don't necessarily have to go through the ship. It certainly makes it easier to have everything reserved to the ship, and they handle everything. But you got to remember, they're going to take their cut. So just take that into account. What was I going to say regarding? Yes, there's also specialty restaurants on board the ship. Definitely have to make reservations of those far in advance. We had a reservation at the Cagney Steakhouse 2 nights ago. While it was a wonderful experience, we had a reservation at 6:30. We didn't get out of there until almost 10 o'clock at night. It took them a long time to basically get our entrees out. Now, when they came, they were good. I got the porterhouse steak. It was a little thinner than I expected it to be. It's probably not what you would get at a steakhouse in, say, New York City, but it was good. It was delicious. The sides, You expect the sides to be like at a steakhouse, like a Ruth Chris or a Morton's, or my favorite in New York City, Keen's. You order a baked potato, it comes out like the size of a football. You order cream spinach, they give it to you in this massive bowl. Same thing with mushrooms or any of those sides. It's enough to feed an army. Not here. When you get a side, it's basically a personal side. So just keep that into account if you decide to make a reservation at Cagney's. We have a reservation tonight at the Brazilian Steakhouse. We did the Brazilian Steakhouse several years ago on the Norwegian Getaway's sister ship, the Breakaway, and it was a wonderful experience. So I'm hoping that with everything that's gone on this week, and with this being the last night that we're on the ship, that the Brazilian Steakhouse is going to be a positive experience. And I think it will be. Like I said, my kids turned 13 today, so we're going to try to have a nice birthday celebration dinner at the Brazilian Steakhouse. And like I said, the staff so far has been super, super friendly, and I'm expecting, nothing less. Like I said, this has been my 6th or 7th cruise. So obviously I've been on Norwegian. This is my 2nd Norwegian cruise. As I said, I was on the Breakaway a few years ago, did this very same route to Bermuda. I've been on Costa, which is the Italian cruise line. I've been on Carnival, which for all the bad rap Carnival gets, that's one of the top cruises I've been on, believe it or not. But I would say that the best cruise company that I've been on so far is Royal Caribbean. And I want to say about 3 or 4 years ago, my family and I, we took the Harmony of the Seas out of Fort Lauderdale. At the time, the Harmony was the world's largest cruise ship. I think it held that title for a few months, before the next mega ship came out. And it was a fantastic cruise. It was full capacity, but since it was such a large ship, it never felt cramped. They had a replica of New York's Central Park. They had a replica of the boardwalk with the carousel, several different amenities on the ship, water slides, games, all sorts of stuff. So unfortunately at this point, I'm putting Norwegian kind of on the bottom shelf of all the different cruise companies that I've experienced over the last few years. And that's a shame because, Norwegian, I think, is doing a good job of, promoting itself, but they really have to step up their game, especially after this experience. So you can look at my list here. I don't think I have anything else to cover. I think at the end of the day, it's been a positive experience with some hiccups along the way. And when I head home, I'm going to put my laundry list, like I said, my naughty list together and send it off to Norwegian and see what they come back with. If they make it right, great. That will certainly put a better taste in my mouth for wanting to book a future cruise with Norwegian. They've been advertising these 2 brand new ships that they're building. I think the Prima, and I can't think of the name of the other one, but they look unbelievable. And they're going to be ready to sail next year. Like anything, when you go on a cruise, they're already trying to sell you on the next one. So you'll see advertisements for that everywhere. Anyway, I'm sure there's a lot more things to say about this particular cruise. If you were on it and you're watching this, go ahead and post in the comments, what your experience was. I certainly am not the kind of guy that flips over every stone on a cruise. I'm sure there's a lot of things I missed, not only from a positive standpoint, but probably from a negative standpoint as well. It's tough sometimes when you have young kids to do everything. For example, today, all they want to do on their birthday is just relax. So we're just kind of hanging out in the cabin, enjoying the wonderful weather, and that's it. But anyway, I'm signing off. Thank you very much, and goodbye from the middle of the Atlantic Ocean. Cheers.